Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Today's video is going to be about mulch, how to do mulch, how to make it look like a pro. I've already picked up my load of mulch. We're going to be putting it down at this house today, so I'm going to take you through the process, tell you everything I can to help you put down mulch and make it look like a pro, whether you are a new landscaper or a homeowner. I'll try to go through the different ways to go about it either way. What I'm not going to do is talk about how to calculate mulch. That would probably be a different video in itself. If anybody is watching is interested in a video on how to calculate how much mulch you need, drop a comment below, let me know. Another thing we could talk about is what kind of mulch to choose. That could probably be a whole video in itself as well, but I'll go through the basics of it. If you want a nice dyed mulch, my advice would be to use brown, black, and red. I mean, they look great when you put them out, but they both fade out faster than the brown. The brown, usually you get a year and a half out of the color while it still looks pretty good. Obviously you don't have to use the brown. You can get a normal double hammered, just a regular ground up mulch, usually cheaper. But other than that, I'm pretty much going to take you through the tips. That's really what the video of the day is about, is going to be going through just putting it out, how to put it out, how to make it look right, and how to do it efficiently. So let's get on. So the important things about putting out mulch is what to do in preparation of putting out mulch. So as you can see, all these bushes are trimmed. I didn't trim them. The homeowner here likes to trim them himself, so he keeps them trimmed. But you know, whether you've been hired to trim the bushes or not, if you're hired to do the mulch, you know, it's important to, hey, look guys, your bushes are going to need trim soon, so let's do that now. You don't want to have to put brand new fresh mulch out and then be out here a month later trimming bushes, making a mess in it, and then trying to clean it all up. And you know, putting out mulch is a pretty large expense for people, and you definitely don't want to ruin it with some bush clippings. I mean, not that it ruins it, but it makes it not as nice as it is now. You want to keep it as nice as possible for as long as possible, so always trim the bushes prior. Other thing is, if there are any weeds, you want to take care of the weeds before you put the mulch out, or it's going to make your mulch look bad soon. As you can see, this bed is pretty well taken care of already, so that's not really an issue we have here. But if you have weeds, pull them out, get your Roundup out, spray them. I mean, a lot of times what we'll do if we're doing mulch at a yard that has a lot of weeds, and we're not able to like handle it prior, at the very minimum, what I'll do is I'll take a weed eater, burn the weeds down to the ground, and then spray it with Roundup, and then cover it with mulch. Then you won't have a problem. They're not going to come back through that if you do that properly. The next step in preparation for your mulch is edging out your beds. You don't always have to do this. You don't always need to do this, and there are different ways to do it, but I would strongly suggest, if anywhere you have a hard edge, that you do something to kind of kick the mulch away from that edge. That way you can put your new mulch down right to the edge, and what that's going to do is that's going to lessen the effect of the mulch washing out. Because you know, areas like right here where this mulch is built all the way up to this edge, if you just add mulch on top of that, it's going to have a tendency to spill out. But if somehow with a shovel or a little mechanical edger, you come here and you dig this out, now when you put your new mulch can kind of tuck in right under here, and it'll stay in place. Over here where we have grass, I'll show you what I'm going to do. Like I say, you don't have to do this. At a minimum, I would take your weed eater through here, cut a real nice sharp edge with the weed eater, and then mulch to that. You can take it a step further. I have a bed edging attachment for my weed eater that I'm going to use to kind of dig this out. Same concept. It's going to lower this edge of the mulch a little bit. That way, I mean, it's already lower, but we do it every year, and that kind of keeps it in check. As eventually what you'll get is your mulch builds up and will be spilling out over your grass, and then you kind of got a constant battle trying to get your mulch to stay out of your grass. but as you can see all the way around, the bed kind of dies down almost under the mulch. You'll be able to see it better after I dress it up the way I'm gonna dress it up, but if you look, you can already tell that it's kind of doing that anyway. The bed dies down into the mulch. It's going to give you a much sharper, cleaner look. If you got a real sharp, clean edge to pull your mulch up to, it's going to make your job look a lot more professional when you get done. So that's all I can really think about right now as far as prep. I mean, obviously, if you've got a bunch of junk that needs to come out of the beds, weeds or leaves or anything of that nature, you want to address that first. But beyond that, let's get this thing rolling. I'll show you how we do it. Okay, so now we've got the bed edging done. I'll get you down here close so you can just kind of tell how. I mean, it doesn't do a ton, but like I say, it cuts that edge a little lower. That way we can make sure we got room to put mulch to the concrete and it be down below the concrete, so it's not gonna be trying to wash out. The next step is we need to get this cleaned up. I'm gonna go around, clean up the sidewalk, blow all that back in there, and then these little chunks of stuff that are stuck in the edge, I'm gonna blow the edge out clean as well, and then we'll be ready to start laying mulch. ready to spread mulch now. So let's talk a little bit about the tools we will use to get the mulch out of the trailer in the beds and spread out. I've got a little assortment here, all of which I will use, some of which I will only use if I have to, but at certain times I might use each and every one of these tools. But to do this job I will use just maybe half of them, but most importantly a pitchfork. So if you know you're a homeowner and you're gonna go buy bags of mulch, the pitchfork isn't that necessary. Main thing you're gonna need the pitchfork for is, as you see, we got a big load of mulch here, getting the mulch out of the trailer into the wheelbarrow. I also use it because I'll use big wheelbarrows, dump piles. I will go through after we get all the piles spread out, use the pitchfork to kind of spread it a little further. But there's different kinds of pitchforks. We've got 3 different kinds here. This is the one that you will see the most. This one right here. You always find these at the big box stores. It's got the 5 little tines there. I don't like this pitchfork at all, not for mulch. Maybe it's got some, but I know you can't tell, but this thing is kind of just stuck into the handle. They're really bad about falling out. It's not riveted in. The tines, there are not enough tines to scoop mulch effectively. So that's out. I mean, I would only use that if I had to. I would use that before I use like a small shovel to shovel the stuff, but that one's out. This one is good enough, okay? Because a lot of times you won't find one like this. This is what I will use to shovel the majority of this mulch out. You can see it's a short D handle. It's wide. It's got, I don't know the proper names for these, but it's a specific kind. You can see the tines are welded. Like this one, the whole thing is metal. That's not a cheap pitchfork, but it's definitely handy to have if you're going to do a lot of mulch. This one, if you're just doing mulch here or there, this is perfectly fine. I can just fill up a wheelbarrow a lot faster with this one. But at the end, when I go around spreading the mulch from the piles, I will pick this one up instead because it's a little more nimble. But I can't stress that enough. You see too many people trying to spread mulch with a little round spade shovel, scooping it out of here. I mean, you can hardly get a handful of mulch in that thing. And not to mention, you can't stick it into the mulch. This, you can, you know, a pitchfork, you can stick it straight in. Boom. Now I've got a big spool, okay? Anyways, moving on. That's what I use to get the mulch into the wheelbarrow. As far as spreading it around, like I say, I will initially start, I'll do the majority of the spreading with this pitchfork, and then I'll move to a rake. This rake here, a lot of the new guys that come out, they want to pick up that rake for spreading mulch. And you see a lot of people doing the same thing. I hate this rake for spreading mulch. I don't like it at all. I guess if you got big wide open piles that you need to move and you don't have a pitchfork to move it, that's okay, but it's not nimble enough. I don't like it. So then we come to rakes. There's 2 different kinds of rakes. You probably can't really tell in the photo. This is a really stiff tine rake. It's not great for much other than raking mulch. It's great for raking mulch. This is your standard leaf rake. It'll work as well. It's just sometimes a little too flexy for moving the mulch around. You can be a little more nimble with it than you can with this one. So honestly, I will probably use that one. If I didn't have the pitchfork to spread the big piles, I would use this one to do that. And then beyond the rakes, we have our square shovel. I won't use this much here, but I do want it on every mulch job, primarily at the very end for shoveling the last little bit out of the bottom of the trailer, because the pitchforks are not great for that, and for shoveling everything that falls on the ground, because you're just going to be able to get a lot more of it up. You know, you can get everything you can get with a pitchfork and there's still going to be a little pile left. I mean, that's the only thing I use the square shovel for, is at the very end, the cleanup. As far as wheelbarrows, okay, this is a large wheelbarrow, large volume wheelbarrow. If you're not doing large volumes of mulch, you don't need that wheelbarrow. If you're just doing your own home, you don't need that wheelbarrow. But I've got a large load here. I want to get it out quickly, so I don't want to have to make a million trips. As you can see the difference between these 2 wheelbarrows. This is your standard Cobalt wheelbarrow you can pick up at Lowe's. not in the greatest shape. We kind of beat them up, but it still rolls, so we're going to use it. And then you got this. I mean, it holds at least 3 times as much, maybe 4. It's a lot more. So as far as getting this mulch out and getting it where I want it to go, that's the guy to do it. Only problem is, look how big it is. It's the double wheel. You cannot get that thing in between small bushes. If you got to go between 2 small bushes that are close together and get to the back of the bed, that guy's not going to do the trick. That's why we still have to bring this guy. I mean, that's really the only reason I use this guy at all, is to get into the tighter areas that the big one cannot get into. But like I said, I will utilize this as much as I can, get the mulch as close as I can to where I need it. And then, you know, if it only needs to go a few more feet, pick up a pitchfork, scoot it on that way. Because I mean, mulch can go a lot faster than you sometimes see it go, just with a big wheelbarrow and the right pitchfork. Because I mean, it's going to take me like 6 scoops with that pitchfork to fill that wheelbarrow and get it down there. And this wheelbarrow probably carries about 1/3 of a yard. So we got 10 yards, so we're talking 30 loads. Boom, that's fast. If this takes 1/10 of a yard, it's going to take 10 wheelbarrows per yard. That's going to be 100 loads just to get this trailer out. So would you rather do 30 or 100? I like 30. Same deal. If you're trying to use like a little shovel, this is okay if that's all you got for loading it. Only problem is you can't stab it into it, so you got to be scooping from the bottom non-stop. Sometimes that's not always applicable. It is easier to use this if you're working out of a dump trailer, but other thing is, like I said, working from the dump trailer. Most people, if you're just doing your own yard, you don't have that capability. But it is a great asset, primarily because I'm not having to bend down and scoop every load up from the ground. This is already elevated. The deck is like at wheelbarrow height, so I'm kind of just transferring it from there to there. I'm not having to expend that energy to get the mulch up and into the wheelbarrow. It might sound non-important, but if you're going to do a lot of mulch and you're going to try to do it fast, that's going to matter. Like I say, if you don't have a trailer, then what can you do? You know, if you're trying to do a large job, you don't have a way to haul it yourself, you just call your local mulch yard, get them to deliver it. You have to work off the ground. It is what it is. That's what I had to do until I got this. But so these are the tools that we use. I'll set you up probably on a time lapse, maybe do a little real time, just so you can see how quickly I can load this wheelbarrow with that pitchfork. It makes a massive difference. So I'll get you set up and we can get that rolling. All right, see, this wheelbarrow sits perfectly at deck height. I think this bigger one sits up a little higher, but still does the trick. Yeah, it's a good bit higher. All right. Okay, you see, that's a lot of mulch and not a lot of time. It really makes a big difference having this large pitchfork. I'll actually do a comparison video after this load. I'll load it with the small one. I guess I should do a comparison with the shovel so you can see the difference there, but that's so slow, it's not even worth trying on. All right, so I got about half of it done by myself, but my helper showed up now, so we'll really bang this thing out. Okay, looks like we got the majority of the mulch moved around to where it needs to go. I've already started raking some here, but we've got it moved out into piles with the wheelbarrow. So what we'll do now, I like to go around, take my pitchfork and just move it, you know, back behind bushes, move it into the areas that we couldn't dump it to, and you know, pretty much get it closely raked around. And then I'll come back through with that leaf rake and do a detailed rake to dress it all up. So I'm gonna get moving on this, and then we'll pop back and I'll try to show you a few little tips and tricks of how to get it raked in, detailed up nice. All right, I've got all my mulch spread roughly. If you want to consider it like a rough end. Now I need to go in and fine-tune spread it. I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but the mulch is moved where it needs to go. Now we just need to make it look good. You can see these areas where it's like piled up against the bush, or another area that you need to pay attention to is this line across the house. I mean, that needs to be nice and smooth, because that's where your eyes are going to jump to, and if it isn't nice, it's gonna look like a crap job. So we're just gonna take this around, try to get this all smoothed out and looking good. Another thing, right here on the edge, I like to use my rake, and I rake kind of like this diagonally and pull my mulch towards the edge, and ideally you want to leave it, you know, kind of mounded up but sloping down right here on the edge. I'll try to demonstrate that. As you can see, I like to come through here with the back of the rake, kind of tuck this. The whole time we're doing this, you're being real careful not to spill the mulch into the grass. Because if you go trying to rake this, and look at all that junk. All that junk would end up right up in your fresh mulch. So I'm careful not to get it on the grass to begin with, and then as I finish, I use the back of the rake to just slip it right in there at the edge. All right, well, that's all for this one. Sorry I didn't do a whole lot of narration there towards the end. We were kind of running out of time, trying to get this thing knocked out before it got dark. But yeah, we ended up doing some pine needles too, as you can see. But I wasn't planning on filming any of that. Like I said, I wanted this video to be predominantly about mulch, but just try to give you some tips and tricks on how to do it professionally and get a nice clean looking job like this. A few other things I didn't mention before that I thought about you want to try to make sure not to do, you definitely want to make sure not to go around pouring your mulch or raking it over top of the leaves from any of these shrubs. The shrubs and the monkey grass or the laripe or the daylilies. You know, take your time, pull them up, get the mulch in around them. Also, you want to be careful not to build up the mulch too high around the house. There'll be things like these vent wells that you don't want the mulch really spilling into and causing the issue for the people you're working for. But other than that, I think that's enough for this one. Appreciate y'all for watching. If you made it this far, we'll see you on the next one.